Hello, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. My name is Melanie. This is Adventures in Hostessville, and welcome to the 7th episode of the Vintage Magazine Project. This month, we are hitting the 1926 physical culture.
Ba-da-bum, ba-dum-bum, bum, ba-da-da-da-dum, ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
So the thing about this magazine is it doesn't have a lot of activities in it to do. The activities it has are basically just exercise and fasting. But it does have a lot of ads, and I've been looking at a bunch of them, and there are a lot of them that I am not interested in trying out. But I did find an ad in here for something called the waterless cooker, the kitchen craft waterless cooker. But it led me on this sort of rabbit hole to something called the Fireless Cooker, which was super popular in the earlier part of the 20th century. And the Physical Culture Cookbook, which is also advertised in this magazine, has directions for making your own. He says the Fireless Cooker is merely a device for insulating a pot of food so as to keep it near the boiling temperature to which it has been brought on the stove. Any handyman can make a fireless cooker. The only purchased article required is a covered pail large enough to hold the cooking pot to be used and made of any bright metal. I didn't want to purchase a pail because I am a cheapskate, but I do have this metal tin, and I have a cooking pan that will fit inside of it except for the handles. So I'm just gonna take the handles off and make that my cooking pot. Okay, so these, like I said, were really popular in the early part of the 20th century. And the thing is, in the late 20s, mid to late 20s, there are electric ovens and electric stoves, but they're not super common yet because electricity isn't super common. So a lot of people are still cooking over a fire, with wood or with coal, and then you do go through a lot more fuel, and you also have to tend it a lot more closely. There is no just set it to 350 and then go read a book. They talk about people like fishermen who are going to be on their boat all day, taking that along with the food started in the morning, and then it cooks during the day and it's ready for their lunch or their dinner. People take them on picnics. People take them tailgating, which is very exciting because football is a huge thing in 1926. In fact, this magazine has an article about Red Grange, the gridiron's galloping ghost, who is a football player that is so famous that even I have heard of him. And what he's actually doing in 1926, in February of 1926, Red Grange is on this barnstorming tour promoting the AFL, the short-lived one-season American Football League. And that's the sort of thing, again, I've heard of it, I don't know anything about it. So I was doing some research into it, and I came across my new favorite football player of all time, Duke Slater. Oh, this is the box I'm using, by the way. It's styrofoam, which is not what I was told to do, but whatever, I'm a maverick. Okay, I am going to want to make this partition the size should go in this box and then also around this tin. So I'm just gonna use cardboard. They say that I can use pasteboard, which is essentially, I think, the same thing. So Duke Slater is born in 1898, the year before Physical Culture magazine is founded. And he grows up sort of around the south side of Chicago. And then around about the time he's 13, his dad gets a job. His dad's a preacher, and he gets a job at the AME Church in Clinton, Iowa. So the family moves to Iowa. Then Duke, who, by the way, his name is Frederick Wayman Slater, but I guess they had a dog named Duke, and at some point the nickname just transferred. So then he decides he wants to go out for football. And first his dad says no to that. He says it's a sport for roughnecks and that Duke will get hurt. But then Duke goes on this couple-day hunger fast, and finally his dad's like, all right, fine, you can play football. But the Clinton High School football team doesn't actually provide shoes and helmets. You had to provide those on your own. And he couldn't afford it. So his dad's like, you can have one or the other. You will have to pick. And so Duke decides to get the shoes, which they have to special order from Chicago as it is, because he has a size 14 and a half triple F shoe. Like this is basically his shoe size. But then he doesn't have a helmet, and he just plays the entirety of high school and most of college without a helmet. And to be fair, this is, Leatherhead's day, so nobody has a good helmet. But at least they've got something. Not Duke Slater. Okay, so he is great at high school football. Clinton wins state, like 2 of the 3 years that he's on the team. Super successful. And when he graduates, he decides to go to the University of Iowa, go Hawkeyes, and play for them. So normally there would have been eligibility rules around him being a freshman, but he gets to college in 1918. It's World War I. A lot of the eligible guys are off in Europe fighting, so they're kind of like, yeah, we'll take whoever. So he's a lineman. He's a what they call a two-way tackle, so he plays both offense and defense. He is all NCAA, I think 3 years. I think he's All-American 2 years. And his senior year, 1921, is the year that they end up beating Notre Dame. Now, Notre Dame, this is the Knute Rockne years, right? So they're on this amazing winning streak of, I think, 20 games in a row that they have won. It's like been years since anybody has beaten the Fighting Irish. But Iowa beats them with Duke Slater. And there's this picture of him. You see, he has tackled 3 Fighting Irish. He's on the ground sort of in this pile of these 3 guys from Notre Dame, no helmet. Oh, and on the off season, he's doing track. He's shot put and discus and hammer, and he takes like 3rd in the NCAA in that as well. So just a really all-around successful athlete. All right, I have got this fitted inside. I have got the partition around my can inside the box. I cut out all the parts where it didn't fit and I had to redo it. But now I have to take it out anyway because I have to stuff it with insulation, with stuffing. So Slater graduates from college, he goes pro, and he signs on with the Rock Island Independents, which is they're one of the charter teams of the NFL, which at this point is really, really new. NFL was just founded in 1920. This is 1922. And that makes Duke Slater the first African-American lineman in the NFL, the first tackle. There are a couple of other black players, but really, like literally a couple. And the NFL is kind of like loosey-goosey and crazy at this point. It's sort of like, great, you're in the NFL. Find some people to play against, play some games, and let us know how it goes. So Rock Island finishes their season, but then the Milwaukee Badgers still have a couple of games left. So Duke Slater goes and plays for them for a couple of games, then goes back the next season to the Independents. He ends up playing with Rock Island for 5 seasons. And in those 5 seasons, he only misses 1 game, and that one's not his fault. They are matched up against the Kansas City Blues, who are not a great team. They are at this point winless. But the agreement is that black players can't play in Missouri. So they play the game, but Slater can't play, and they lose. And I mean, they get it back a little bit because 3 weeks later, they're matched up again, but this time it's in Illinois, and so Rock Island is like, oh, hi, have you met our friend Duke Slater? And they kill him. It's a shutout. But that does actually cost them the championship. But then in 1926, they are the only NFL team to sort of defect and go to this newly formed AFL. The AFL does not go well. The whole thing sort of falls apart, and most of the teams that are in it go bankrupt, including Rock Island. Oh, see, here's a slow cooker recipe. I could probably make this in here. Crunchy peanut butter granola. So Rock Island is done. They're not a team anymore, but Slater's still playing, and he gets picked up by the Chicago Cardinals. And they are now, of course, the Arizona Cardinals, which also makes Duke Slater the first African-American player on a current NFL franchise. Now at this point, he is the only black player in the NFL, the only one. And that is the case for 3 seasons, more or less, 27, 28, and 29. In 1928, there are 2 weeks where there is another player. It's a buddy of Duke Slater's, actually, that he sort of like gets brought in to play alongside him, but he's only there, like I said, for 2 weeks. So besides that, those 3 years, he's it. And even at that, right, he's still all pro. I mean, he plays for 10 seasons, and in 7 of them, he's all pro. But what he's doing in the off season is he's going back to the University of Iowa and getting his law degree. So I am just getting some onions and celery started for this soup. I actually have this recipe that I copied off the internet. It was from a Fireless Cooker cookbook. This is burning, so I'm gonna get some water in here. Now, I was getting these beans. I bet I can just dump this. How sorry am I gonna be that I tried to do this? Probably very sorry. Will it fit? Oh, just barely. So in 28, he gets his law degree, and he retires in 31, I think. There's still a couple other black players in the league by then, but by 33, there aren't. That's sort of done. Now it's unofficial, but official that there are no more black players in the NFL. That lasts until 46, so quite a while. But in the meantime, he goes back to Chicago and he sets up shop as an attorney. But he's also still working with football. He's a real big advocate for all of these black players who now don't have any pro teams that they can play on. So he is instrumental in assembling and coaching and assistant coaching all of these local teams. So the Chicago Negro All-Stars, the Chicago Brown Bombers, the Panthers, and the Comets. He is involved with all of those while he's practicing law. And in the late 40s, I want to say 48, he gets elected to the Cook County Municipal Court. He is only the 2nd African-American to be elected. He gets over 1 million votes. And then in 1960, he gets moved up to the Cook County Superior Court, which is at that point the highest court. He is the first black judge to be on that court, and eventually ends up on circuit court when that is created as well. So at the 40th anniversary of the founding of the NFL, so 1960, Red Grange gets asked to form his all-time all-star team. And he picks these 13 guys, one of whom is Duke Slater. As of 2 years ago, every single one of them, except for Duke Slater, was in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Look how I'm getting so fiery. Like 2 weeks ago, I didn't know he existed, and now I'm like, nah. But he did ultimately get inducted just last year, January of 2020. They put together their centennial class as the 100th anniversary, and he was finally inducted into it. Okay, the beans are boiling, but I want to make sure I have everything ready before I put them in here. I am supposed to put a pillow or a cushion over the top, and I had this ratty old pillow I was going to use, but it turns out it is too big. Is that a good size? Yeah. I don't know if the pail is as big as the pot and my 2 hands. Oh dear. Yes. But now my hot mitts are stuck in there. They're caught on the things that held the handles. Okay, that's in there. Let's cover it up. Quick, 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 quick. And then, where did I put the cover? There we go. I don't know. The pillow is hot-ish, warm. I mean, it's a pillow. All right. Here they are. Let me... Oh, there's beans all down in there. Oops. Bean pot, fireless cooker. Did you cook? Oh. Okay. It's still really hot. It is steaming. I don't know if you can see that or not. Okay, it's soupy. Are they cooked? Let's see. Oh my gosh! Hey! Hey! They're cooked. They're totally cooked. My beans are cooked. This is so exciting. This totally worked. I got so excited that I inhaled bean water, and I'm still struggling through that a little bit, so bear with me. But this is my new Fireless Cooker, and I am going to cook beans in my car like an old-time hobo that has a car.